So this is the script that we've been working on the last maybe 2 weeks, week and a half. And this is Aiden's third rewrite. I will drop the link in the chat just so you can review. We're going to be using elements of the script today, mainly because we're producing stuff within the engine finally. It's been pre-production up until today. What we did yesterday is, like I said, I got together with the voice actors, and online we were able to use the same software. What is it, Nevea? It's like what they use for choir. Soundtrack, yeah, it was really good for this kind of thing because it gives us like reverb on our voices. It allows people to record all at the same time and stuff. And then she cut it up into the individual files that we need for it to be implemented in the engine. Now, do you guys remember? Nevea, you can't answer because I know you know. What file do I need to actually have this audio in order to? What file type does it need to be in order to go into the engine? Look at you, Joshua. You know? Jordan? Jordan got it. Wave. Yeah, it has to be a wave file. Unreal won't take MP3s. So it's a wave file, and we have this a bunch of wave files, so awesome. And then the thing we did last time is we started prepping the game to actually receive our dialogue. And our dialogue comes in the form of a couple file types or variable types, right? First off, we have the audio files themselves, but then we also have to have the text that you see on the screen. So like stuff in the form of widgets and stuff. So what we created last time, real quick at the end of class, what we did, we created this structure, remember dialogue structure, where we specify out basically everything that a piece of dialogue, every bit of information that that thing needs to have, we now have in this thing called a structure. So that's obvious things like the text and the dialogue, but also not so obvious things like an enum or a list for who's actually speaking that line. So we made that enum called e-characters, and it's basically a list of all the characters in the script, right? The man, our main character, the woman, the therapist, you don't know who's the therapist until later. The voice, the hallucinating horror voice that speaks to the man. The kids, played by Charlize. News anchor at the end. And then actually after class, I added this thing called null here because when we made a data table out of our structure here, I had to have a way of like splitting off the scenes that Aiden gave us. So when you look at the script here, this is human readable. Okay, I can read this, you could read this. We read it in class several times together during our read-throughs, and it makes sense. How do you make this make sense to a computer, though? In this case, we need to know, like, okay, when do we start screen fade in from the blackness, right? Like, and when do we go over here, and now we're fading in, and the audio is continuing over playing. So I just made this thing called null. So it's a null character. So if I want to separate out a bit of dialogue, almost like a scene, I can add a row here that says that the character that's saying it is null in this case, right? Okay, so now we're going to implement this into our first cutscene, and then in subsequent classes start to work on the forest environment, the horror forest, and implementing everything from horror engine. So like we explored before, this is our kind of like horror map with all of the pre-made kind of stuff and code bits and things we might want and need. So this is kind of our lab to come grab stuff. Right now we don't care about that. Right now we really just care about a black screen and getting dialogue to work and show up on screen in the form of a system. So let's go make a new level, or make this a blank level, and we'll just call this forest, because we'll populate this. And while we get that set up, do we have any new concept art from the concept art team? Jordan, you sent me something, I think, in between classes last time. Let me look at the Hangout.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't think the class saw that, so let's take a look at that. So Jordan's doing our environmental art. Okay, so again, just another supplemental, like the last one had the cabin, right? So kind of supplemental, think of this as the theme in your mind. I also got the horror trees over here, right? So this is the tonality that we're going with. And the actors did a really good job at bringing that to it. So first thing let's do, let's import Nevaeh's audio files that she cut up from our recording session. So we're gonna go to add new. Actually, let's make a folder for this. I'll make a folder called VO for voiceover. Add new, import. I have rough sketches of the monster family. Yeah, oh my gosh, we got to see that because we don't have any character designs yet. Yeah, because there's a lot we can do with that. Because remember, we don't really see any other characters. I mean, we could change that, but as far as I understand, maybe you see the news anchor on the television at the end in the script, but like on that television kind of thing, all blurry and whatnot. But you certainly don't see the main character that Mario plays. You hear the voice of the therapist. Everything that you're seeing again is part of like the hallucination of our character, the man. And so these creatures that we end up finding out is, of course, his family, these evil, horrible creatures and stuff. They should be evocative of what is going on. I know that Jordan, in the last concept art, you put some, or was it Jordan? You did like some foreshadowing where it's like, well, what if we have like, you know, some homework in the cabin and like some kids' toys there and stuff. Yeah. So yeah, okay. So I like that. So think of that when you're doing the character designs. But yes, Nate, I want to see those soon. All right, so we import the files. It's just the first scene. We're just going to see if we can get the first scene done. In addition to creating the system through which all of our scenes are going to be done. So I've imported the files. We can test play them for a second. Let me make sure my system sound is on. Let me know if this is too loud. So this is one of Mario's lines.
I know. I'm sorry. I have been taking them. Exactly how the doctor said. Twice a day.
Great, okay.
I see you doing better.
Awesome, okay. So I'm already identifying a new piece of data that we might need to actually put into our data table. Because right now I'm realizing, and again, this is a sketch, you know, ideally would be in person, you'd have the giant crazy mic like mine that we would all record into. So Mario's voice lines are quieter than Nevaeh's. So what I would like to do just real quick is go into our structure and add the option for me to tweak the pitch and the volume of these. Maybe not the pitch so much. Maybe for James's creature voice, actually, the pitch would be good. So let's do that. So we're going to go here. Somebody tell me, what would the variable type be for volume? You can unmute your mics too, guys. Would it be a Boolean? Would it be a text? Would it be an enum? Yeah, for the sound, literally the volume of the sound. I want to be able to control so that when I play Nevaeh's line, I can turn hers down. When I play Mario's line, I can turn it up. But what's the actual variable type for volume? What do you think it would be? Play mixer. You're thinking like of making the sound cue, which is something we could do, something we don't need to do. So no, it wouldn't be a sound cue, wouldn't be a mixer. Wouldn't be sound cue. Integer? Okay, you're getting close. Nevaeh is saying integer. Probably because you're thinking like decibels, like 1, 2, 3. Not an integer, but instead a float. So both number variables. So a float. Okay, so we're just going to name that volume. And we're going to leave the default number on that as 1. Which is basically saying like 1.0 means play it at its normal volume. 1.0, 100% of its actual volume. Set that to 0.5, right? Like on one of the lines, it's going to be half the volume. Okay, now you understand. So in Omar sound wave we already have, we'll actually sound bass for recorded VO. All right, so now let's actually make the system for this. So we're on this black screen. We need to get this to show up. Remember via text, the whole plan, the script says, it's going to be a black screen for that beginning part of this scene. where you're just hearing the lines in succession, the conversation between the man and the therapist, and seeing that text show up on screen. So let's make the widget. So we're going to make this user widget. Widget blueprint. Should we call it maybe dialogue screen? And I talked about that last time. There's like a couple ways people would do it. There's like the beginner way, the amateur way, which is, oh, I'll make a different widget for each line, right? But in a script with, I don't know how many lines it is. It's a lot because I had to copy them all over the data table. Actually, we could tell. With a script with 83 lines, that's 83 different images and text that you're putting on screen. Not efficient. No. Instead, you want one dialogue widget that holds text that can change, and you can see the text kind of come in and out. So we're going to bring out a text. We need like a good horror font, actually, if somebody wants to find one, and drop it in the link in the chat. Because right now we just have the basic Roboto font. And we want to fill this with a line. So let's make a variable out of this text. txt line. And let's just, for the placement text, let's just put, there is no line here currently. So if we see that, we know that something's not right. Now we want to also have the author of the text, so who's actually saying it, what character. So let's wrap this with a vertical box. We're going to duplicate that text, and this will be the character line that'll say the character name, so we know who's speaking. Character name, let's just change it so that it's like, that one remains bolded, but the other one is regular. Okay, that could be good. Nivea has dropped another danger font. Okay, I like it, but I think it's too stylized for like actual human readable stuff. I'm gonna download this, and this is really good for like notification text, title screen text, and then what I'd also want is, can we get something that's more subtle, but also horror? But I think this looks really good because it's got that evocative of like blood, and yet it has that forest quality. It's like twigs and stuff, and Blair Witch. So I think it's great. So let's have that as like a title font, and then I want like a horror but cleaner font, something that's just you could read a lot. You could read a lot of dialogue as. All right. So on our widget, let's go to this. We're going to make a custom event. Name the custom event advance to next line. Okay. Now we have everything, all our dialogue pasted over exactly as it was from the script itself, now into a machine readable format in the form of this data table. So we just need to ask this data table for lines and feed that into the widget and have that happen in a cinematic way, be able to delay, that kind of thing. So let's do this. So let's get data table. Get data table row. This will allow us to actually get the data table, voice of the deranged data table. Maryville has just dropped another font. Let's check it out. I still know. I love it. Okay, we can use this with the character font. I know I'm being picky here, but think about this. Everything here is on in all caps. So we could try it, but maybe we could also try something that isn't in all caps. It isn't horribly stylized, but stylized enough that it feels appropriate for the game. Let's import those fonts. They're zipped up. So let's unzip them. Extract. All right, now we can bring these in. All we need is the font file. Yes. Import again. Any thoughts on music for the cinematic? I think that we should probably have an underlaying of like music, and then I don't know. What about sound effects? The guy's in his car, right? Or at least he talks about being in his car before we fade into the backflash of him in the forest. What do you guys think about sound effects? Should we include sound effects? Should it be just the dialogue? Should it be music only? What are your thoughts? Okay, I'm seeing some people come in. Sound effects, all three. Okay, so we're gonna make the car go vroom vroom. Okay. Yeah, we can do some like forest sound effects and stuff. If you guys can find some stuff in the public domain, be great. And we'll be able to integrate that into this system. So, all right, let's start with our code here. Advance to next line. So this is going to be responsible for grabbing the next line in the data table, filling everything on screen that we need to see what's going on. So we're going to get the data table called Voice of the Deranged with all the dialogue lines. We're going to break the row that has all of that information, and then we could do things like filter by the character, ask what the line is, yada, 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 right? So then we have this like row name here. Now, I didn't name these rows specifically. It's just like new row this, new row that. We don't really have to. It's one way that you could identify a row. But we could do something else with data table. You can do get data table row. You can do get data table row names. There it is. Do for each loop, and then we can get so we can get the data table row name and plug that in and see what's happening here is whatever number we plug into our get node. So right now it's at 0. It's going to spit out line number 0. If we change this to 1, it's going to spit out line number 1. If we change it to 2, it's going to spit out line number 2, etc., etc. Right? So we can use this. We can promote this to a variable, for example, or even better yet, let's make an input off of this. And we'll name this line to advance to. Okay. All right, thanks for letting me know, Javon. Piano would be spooky. Yeah, definitely. So we could find something in the public domain, or just like how we have artists on the team doing their art thing, voice actors doing their voice thing. Does anybody want to do the music? Anybody play like a little piano, guitar, or something? Violin could be good. I know some of you are in band and stuff. Think about it. Who wants to do the music? Put it in the chat. I can make scary violin noises. I can make scary violin noises.
Hello, Mr. Torres. Sorry that I'm terribly late. I slept.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Try to be on time. To advance. Yeah, no, I make horrible violin noises every time I play a violin. But I'm not making the music. I'm just enabling us to play the game. A rusty saxophone that I haven't played in years. Okay. Somebody come up with music, and somebody come up with. If you'd like to put your hat in the ring for being the musician, let us know, and I'll meet with you and we'll do something about that. Because that'd be really cool. Other than that, we can just use stock music if we need to.
We're doing the music. What exactly did I miss?
So James, we're taking the lines we recorded yesterday. I guess this is for everybody who's late. Take the lines that we did, and we're actually implementing them in the game, and we're just doing scene 1. So
can you tell me all of those in a nutshell?
I just did. I got to move on, but basically we're doing we're implementing our dialogue lines into the game engine. So we're doing scene 1 where we fade in and play everything. Okay. All right, moving on. So we've got our recorded dialogue here. We've got our text. So all we need to do here is grab the text called text line, grab it, change it to text property, set text, to, what do you know, dialogue line. And again, you should be familiar by now, but again, you see this is like a pink circle. This pink circle, it means that they connect, right? They're of the same variable type. And then you can do some really cool stuff here, like recorded VO, I can do, for example, play sound. So at the moment that this text gets displayed, we are now playing the dialogue from that, okay? And we'll take it a little bit further. We also added right here a character name. So let's actually change the name of that txt to txt character name. And let's bring that out and set the text of that. Now here's something that's interesting though. Character is in a num, right? A list. This is text. How do you convert a character to a list? It won't let you connect them. But here's what you can do. You can use a node called enum to, I think it's name. Enum to string sometimes gives you weird results. Anyway, we'll see. We plug that in, and that will actually allow us to display that. It's going to convert the item in that list to something that's readable by the text. Okay. And then I had this volume thing there as well that we added earlier. Let's see if we can actually set the volume or pitch or something. No, we'd have to make a queue out of it. We're going to leave that setting for now, but now we have at least kind of a little infrastructure for potentially editing and managing our voice lines in the engine should we get a file that's just too loud in comparison to the others, that sort of thing. But we'll leave that alone for now. So now I've got this code here called advance to next line. I can call it just like this, advance to next line. And what we can do is, I'm going to cheat for a second here. We're just going to have a button that we can test whether we're advancing to the next line or not. On clicked, we will call advance to next line. Now we need to actually increment it and make it so it goes to the next line. Also, you remember I added in these lines that are kind of non-lines. Like you can see this is spoken by the woman, okay? This is ... which is, just a second of silence, spoken by the man, then back to the woman. But at some point, looking at this, we're gonna hit this thing called, right now it says Emax, it should be null. It's gonna hit a null value, which we don't wanna count that as a line. That's just my way of putting notes within our data table. So what we can do is add a little bit of code here where we say, hey, if the character is equal to null, then we want you to advance more until you recall the advance to next line code until you're no longer doing a null line, basically. Okay, let's make a variable out of this, advance to next line. We're going to promote this to a variable or input here, line to advance to, that's perfect. We will get this line. We will set itself to itself plus 1, right? That's how you increment. Advance to next line. So on button clicked, we're saying advance to next line. Yes, okay, we do that. And then, let's see. On clicked, advance to next line. Am I leaving anything out, guys? What do you think? Next line. I'm not worried about the null value just yet. I just want to get it working. So if it's starting on line 0, which it is, right? We don't have any title text or anything. Okay. Then maybe it should advance. On clicked, advance to next line, and then, you know what? Actually, this is what we need to do. That part needs to go first. And if you are worried that, oh, well, then our first line is going to be line number 1, but really we need line number 0, then we can set our default value for the variable to -1. So no matter what, every time this is clicked, it's starting in the right place. All right, let's do a little test and just make sure that we can actually display our stuff on screen. And it should play the audio, actually, too. We're going to do begin play. Real quick, how do I get a widget to show up on screen? Put it in the chat or unmute your microphone. How do you make a widget show up on screen? Joshua got it, create widget, and then what? What after create widget? Somebody else. Create widget is the first part, but just because you create the widget, it doesn't show up on screen. What's the second part? Aiden got it, add to viewport. Awesome, okay. So we're going to set that add Set the class as our dialog screen that we just made. Then we're going to add to viewport, and that's going to make it so that it shows up. And hopefully I have mouse controls so I can click on that button. If not, we'll have to add that real quick. Let's hit play. All right, we see that it says character name. There is no line here currently. Okay. Now if I click on this button and our code works, we should see character name change to the name of the character, or if it was a num to string instead of a num to name, it might say like a weird number or something. We should see the line change for sure, and we should hear the dialogue play. Let's test it. 3, 2, 1. And I lost my mouse. Okay, so we have to enable mouse controls. Get player controller. Set show mouse cursor. Set click events. Set mouse over events. So if you ever have a game where you don't have mouse controls, you have to set all 3 of those things and connect those. Check mark it. And that's going to enable my mouse. Let's see if this works. Take 2. All right. 3, 2, 1, click. Not happening. All right. Let's debug some other stuff. Some of it might have to do with the fact that we are on this template right now, and they're adding their own HUD over ours. So what we might need to do is do a game mode override where instead of playing as their character, we're playing as like a non-entity character, an observer, you know. So let's do that horror engine game mode, but changing the default pawn now to just character, and everything else can stay the same. Oh yeah, that worked. That actually worked. I see you're doing better. Click it again. Yeah. Have you been taking your medications? All right. So that's a really good sign. First off, I saw that the enum was wrong. Okay, it did the weird numbers, so that would just mean that in our advanced to line code, we need to now instead change this from text to string. So enum to string would be the correct way to do it. And then that will convert it, and that will show the line. And the last thing, I can't believe I didn't do this part. I actually never set never told the dialogue table where to find the audio. So let's do that. Now that we've imported that audio, the Nevea is the first line. She numbered it for us, thankfully. So let's find the Nevea lines, NEV, and we're going to choose that. Setting her dialogue. See how it just went right there? Oh, was that the wrong line? Let me make sure this is in order. Yeah, I see you're doing better. Should be this. So let's see. Let's test it real quick.
I see you're doing better.
Perfect. Okay. And then let's just get all the Nevea lines in there. So this will be Nevea line 2. It's going to be that one. Nevea line 3. Maybe that one. Nevea line 4. There. Nevea line 5. There. 6. And 7 for Nevea. Yeah, that should be right. Now let's do Mario's lines. Mario has the second line where he says the word yeah. Let's just test that real quick.
I know. I'm sorry. I have been taking them. Exactly
Nope,
how
okay.
the doctor said.
That's for that line.
Today.
So that one might be slightly different. This one?
I know.
There you go. Oh, no. Oh,
I know. I know.
we might be missing a line from Mario.
Do we start again or? I don't know. I think it was.
That's that line. Cool. So I think we're missing Mario's first line, but it's okay. It's just a rough sketch.
He told me to go.
Told me to go. He's talking about the voice. The forest, he told me to go. And then last line from Mario is here.
The voice. He told me to go.
Okay, so we're missing a couple lines from Mario's, but that's fine. That's why it's good to have that text on screen, so we'll know what to fill in. Let's hit play, and then if this works, meeting will be adjourned, And next time we come back, we're going to have new concept art, character concept art from Nate. And again, if you're interested in doing the music, I think it's so cool that with this class in particular, so many people have split off to contribute different things to the game, that I would rather that somebody make some sort of horror music, could just be on one instrument, and us start to use that rather than getting something online, right? Okay, let's hit play, and all those audios should play with it. Again, we've just set up the very basic system for our cinematic. Eventually we'll get to where we fade in on the level and all of that, and these things will play automatically. We'll put delay nodes. We'll put in the data table the ability to specify how long that line is or how long to wait after that line. You could probably automatically just ask the sound base for how long it is. Bass would fit well, yeah. All right, let's test this out. So, clicking.
I see you're doing better.
Cool.
I know.
That's the line he doesn't have. All right.
I have been taking
Have you been taking your medications that the doctor
exactly how
prescribed
the
you?
doctor said.
The antipsychotic
day.
pills?
Okay, next one. And then there's the silence.
Mr. Dell, you've been told that it's not good if you don't take them. You're in this situation because you...
I know. I'm sorry. I have been taking them. Exactly how the doctor said. Twice a day.
Okay. We've called you here because we want to know about your accident a week ago. Do you remember anything? Anything at all?
I don't know. I think I was.
Okay. Okay. Let's start from the beginning. Relax and think. What did you see?
And then we start to go into the rest of the lines where we fade in and everything. Cool. So honestly, guys, I think it's really good for a sketch of a system and of our dialogue to be. We need to go record the other scenes as well. So we'll hopefully get the first scene recorded with better audio quality and things like that. But now we at least have a start. Nevea, if you can get me the rest of those lines that we were missing. I think we're missing Mario's first line. Maybe just look at it and make sure that there isn't something that got cut out accidentally. Are there any questions on any of that? I'm going to end